Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you all. I am Dr. Emily Stampone. I am the Director of Clinical Operations at Verbal Beginnings. Verbal Beginnings' mission is to change lives for our clients, families, and our professionals. And we do that through our pledge of care, which is our promise to you to provide effective care through compassion, to provide effective treatment through compassionate care. And we also strive to achieve our mission through our core values, which one of those core values is education, teaching families such as yourselves valuable ways to work with your child. And that is really why we decided to start these series. Additionally, you'll see the seal, a couple different seals down below, the seal of the Behavioral Health Center of Excellence and the seal of the Autism Commission on Quality. We have these seals here to help represent the hard work and focus that we place to ensure that Verbal Beginnings is providing quality care through the highest of standards. Okay, next slide, please. I also wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to the services that we offer here at Verbal Beginnings. In addition to our in-home and center-based ABA services, we also offer center-based comprehensive services, feeding therapy, and social skills programming. And additionally, just a couple housekeeping items. We encourage you to participate with us today throughout the presentation by using the Q&A feature found at the bottom of your screen. We are also offering closed captioning during this recording, which you can access by navigating to the bottom of your Zoom screen, click the closed captioning button on the bottom of your screen, and you'll be able to participate with us today. And without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our presenter for the evening, Rachel Morelli. Go ahead, Rachel.
Hello, everyone. So I am Rachel. Just a little bit about me. So I have been working with families within the autism community for about 15 years. I became a BCBA almost 12 years ago. And part of my role as a BCBA, I have worked in clinics, I've worked in-home and school, but I at one point was a parent trainer, helping families create safety plans for the community. But there was always some families that wanted to go beyond just their community. They wanted to get on an airplane, they wanted to go on vacations. But I didn't know the resources at the time that would be supportive for those families. So I started to look into the travel advisor piece. I am someone that loves to travel, and I knew how to travel with, I have three little ones, so I knew how to travel with my kids, but I didn't know how to help these families. So I found a company called Travelmation who has a director of accessible travel. And from there, I have been able to combine my travel advisor skills and my BCBA skills to really create this like niche of supporting families within the autism community with their travel wants and needs. So today I'm going to just kind of give an overview of what accessible travel is, why travel is so important to families, some data that I've collected, as well as some other organizations have collected, and then just kind of going into the steps of what it looks like when we do go on a trip and the resources that are available for each of those steps. All right. So the first piece is what is accessible travel? So, when I use the phrase accessible travel, I mean travel that is adaptive to meet the unique needs of the traveler. So sensory needs, this could be behavioral needs, communication needs, medical needs, and just the family stress levels as well. So accessible travel, it's not about changing the child, it's about changing the environment. And there are lots of tools, programs that we can use today that help support this. All right, so why travel matters. So there's different reasons for all families why they want to travel. So some it's to build that flexibility. Others it's just coping skills, generalization, things like that. So when we travel, we gently stretch a child's flexibility in a supportive way. New environments, new routines, and new experiences help build adaptability over time. Um, as a BCBA, I look at this as like shaping. We're shaping, kind of introducing those small changes in a way that feels safe, doable, and positive. It also strengthens like those coping skills so kids can practice waiting, problem solving, using communication tools, and managing sensory input in real life settings. So these are skills that can be hard to teach at home, but they naturally show up during travel. And then another big benefit is generalization. So I've worked with families where we've worked on skills like waiting in line, and maybe we're able to wait in a grocery store, but taking that to the next level of waiting in a line at an amusement park or in airport security, those are things that we can work on, and then generalize with these trips. And then, of course, the memories. This is, I think, the most important for everyone. The memories that you are able to carry on for years. So there's going to be hard moments in travel. We all have those moments where it's challenging, but the connections we build, the confidence, and just that sense of accomplishment for the child and you as a parent is huge. And some of my family's core memories are built on trips. And when I've booked trips for other families, their stories they share with me after, like I know that's going to be one of their core memories that they will remember forever. So it's really amazing how these vacations can make a difference. So travel, it's not just fun, it's a powerful way to support growth while making meaningful memories together. So we'll look at some of like the data just to kind of give you guys an idea of like why I started seeing this data and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I really need to support these families because this is a need and there's so many resources out there that families aren't aware of." So IBCCES is an organization. They help certify resorts. They help there's certified like cities to become autism accessible. They train staff. So it's a great organization. So they did a survey in 2019. So it was a little while ago. But when they did this survey, um, they found that nearly like 9 out of 10 parents, so that 87%, reported they're not currently taking family trips or vacations. But 93 would be more likely to travel if there was options available that met their family's needs. And then 97 said they are not satisfied with the current options for their family. And then 98% said they would look or they do look for physicians and their therapists for travel approval and input. Um, so this data really shows that there is such a need for travel, but someone there to support them and give them the resources. That's what I'm here for. So let me go a little bit more into some of the data I have. So this is a current survey that I did with families. So some of them were parents, caregivers, and then there was a few therapists that participated as well. So this first one is, have you ever avoided traveling due to concerns about accessibility or accommodations? And that's 90% are saying yes. So families really want to travel, but finding those resources sometimes is what is holding them back. Are you aware of autism-friendly resources or programs? So 75% said no. So that's where I get in touch and share the resources available. And then the next one, if you knew more about available autism-friendly resources, would you be more likely to travel? And 100% said yes. So I think that's probably most of you that are here are wondering what the resources are available. So that is what I'm going to mainly dig into. But here's one more. Just would having a travel advisor who specialize in autism-friendly travel be helpful? And a majority did say yes. And that is like what I said, my role is. So here's kind of a breakdown on resources, and then you guys can ask me questions after. I'll go kind of stop at each section, so if there's specific areas you want to ask questions about, you can. There are many partners in travel and hospitality industry that have kind of stepped forward to create inclusive programs for families. So these include autism certified resorts. So that's like beaches resorts, Nickelodeon resorts. The programs developed through IBCCS and Autism Double Checked. They are creating these certification programs for the resorts. They're training all the staff. So all the staff at a beaches resort has been trained to work with families with autism. They have a questionnaire they ask prior so they know how to support the families when they're on the resort. The staff in the child care facility, they are aware of the needs and they're there to support the families. So those programs are great for training those specific resorts. There's airport support. So there's something called TSA pre-check that you have to pay for, but then there's also TSA cares. And then there's theme parks, cruise lines, and then Autism on the Seas as well, is a great organization. I'm going to get a little bit more into detail on those later, but I want to start with just like kind of where do you begin? So the planning and booking. So that's kind of like the first step. You're like, okay, can we go on a vacation? Um, so planning and booking, you're going to start with maybe your therapist, talking with your ABA team. Hey, I want to take my son to Disney World, but right now we're having trouble with him waiting in line at the grocery store. Like, what's the goals we need to work on to make things successful for our vacation? So you can start by talking to your ABA team to figure out the goals you're working on now. Are they going to be able to generalize to a vacation setting that you want to go to? Um, and then just trying to figure out what is the environment that your child thrives in. Do they really like the beach? If so, then maybe that's your first vacation is going on a beach vacation because we know they love the beach. If they like rides at your local theme park, then maybe the next step is going to Disney World or Universal for a theme park trip. Also determining your family's pace. Places like Disney World are go, go, go. It's very busy. If you're wanting to do all the parks, you need to be there for a whole week so you have time to plan that downtime in. Otherwise, it's going to be maybe too much for your family. If you're a family that is looking to just kind of relax, then maybe a beach type vacation or even a cruise vacation is what you're looking for. So having those conversations of the pace you're looking for, what kind of environment your child thrives in. Um, and then part of what I can support with is what's the best time of year to go? I mean, there are times where Disney World is crowded. I mean, let's be real. It's always crowded, but there's times that it is extremely crowded. And so I help determine, okay, February break, that President's Day weekend is one of the busiest times at Disney World. If you're trying to avoid crowds, let's not plan then. Let's go a time maybe late May when it's less crowded. Having backup plans. So if you are wanting to go on a beach vacation and you want to do excursions each day, but you have maybe a morning where you're just feeling like, okay, we just need to cancel the excursion. Like, what's the backup plans? I help with that as well. And then building predictability into your days. So if you have a schedule at home where you wake up, you have snack at this certain time, lunch at that certain time, just making sure we can plan that into your vacation to try to keep that predictability is important. Um, and then planning is the foundation that makes everything else go more smoothly. So having a set plan, making sure everything is set before you leave for your trip is so important. Um, I myself, I've traveled to places like Atlanta where I'm like, I'm just going to catch an Uber when I get there to get to my location. And the Uber area at Atlanta can be quick, or I have waited an hour before. And that was not something that would be great for a family. So just making sure, okay, we're going to be landing at this airport. We have someone picking us up at a certain time. So having those transfers in place, all of those things I help with and is so important for a smooth trip. All right, I'll do one more and then I'll stop to see if there's any questions. So setting the scene. So some things that help with setting the scene is using social stories. So I do have for like Disney, I send families that I work with a social story for Disney. We plug in the parks they're going to, pictures, things like that to really make it a personal social story. Visual schedules. So if that is something that is supportive during the day, having pictures of things on the trip, roller coasters, or if you're on a cruise, certain things within the cruise. Um, previewing videos. I mean, YouTube has so much on it. So if it's just pulling up the location you're going to and seeing what is there, that can be really helpful. First, then boards. If countdown calendars are helpful, if it's something that you guys are like looking forward to, planning it ahead, the little chains where you tear one off each day, those have been fun for families as well. I do know there are some families that just like that build up that can cause some anxiety. So you don't tell them till like the day before, or wake up that morning and say we're going on a trip. So it depends on what's best for your family. Um, and then just talking through like what is going to stay the same when you're on your trip, what's going to look different if you're having those conversations with your child, that's important. Then, like the night before your trip, you just want to have an early bedtime, relax, and then ensure like everything is set for the trip. Are electronics charged? Do you have everything downloaded? Sometimes airplanes say they have Wi-Fi, but you get on and the Wi-Fi is down, or they have entertainment within the seat, but it's not working at your seat. So making sure you have that backup plan as well. And then lots of snacks for trips as well. So when we reduce uncertainty, we reduce anxiety. And when we reduce anxiety, behavior improves and your child feels more in control. All right, I'll stop there. Does anyone have any questions?
Only one's come through so
Okay.
far, and it was really just a question of if their colleagues could have access to the content for today. So I just wanted to pause and share while maybe some others maybe type in some questions while I answer this. So within, I would say just a few days, definitely by the end of this week, the presentation will be posted to Verbal Beginnings Family Corner, which I did post the website within the Q&A box, but if you Google Verbal Beginnings Family Corner, that website will be one of the first things that pops up. You can also find it by just going to our main website at verbalbeginnings.com/family corner. There is a hyphen between family and corner. So definitely take a look there. There's actually a ton of resources there too, but we'll make sure we get Rachel's posted there for you all as well. And please, if you have questions for Rachel, utilize that Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we'd be happy to help answer those throughout the presentation.
Okay. All right, so now I'll get into a little bit more about like packing for the trip. So when packing for your trip, it's less about like bringing everything and more about bringing what like actually helps your child stay regulated and comfortable on their trip. So it's their sensory tools, those comfort items from home, those preferred snacks and drinks, especially if you're going to like a Caribbean island, you may not have access to their typical snacks or even if there's a drink they like. I have for my kids, I've frozen milk before and we've brought milk with us on a trip. So we have that milk in our hotel room because you can bring, if it's frozen, it can go through the security. Chargers, medication, any of those reinforcement tools you're using, safety items. So I recommend for families to have some type of either an alarm that goes off if the hotel door opens or a certain lock that only like an adult can really open the door, so that if you're sleeping in the night and your child happens to get up, they don't leave the hotel room. I send families certain links to those when we book trips together. Also, just like ID tags. So if you're going somewhere that is crowded, I send my family's a link for making tattoos from home. Like you just order the paper on Amazon and can print. I send like a little template for like Disney with you enter your phone number and you print out a tattoo that you can put on your child's arm. So if for some reason they were to get lost in a crowded area and someone found them, they have the phone numbers there on their arm. Some families use ID tags, like necklaces with a specific tag or air tags as well. So just making sure you have those unpacked is important.
Rachel, one question did just come through. The question is, um, you are Travelmation certified. How is this different from CATP certification?
So Travelmation is the company I work for. So the CATP is through IBCCS, so that's the Certified Autism Travel Professional. So I have that certification, but Travelmation, being an accessible travel advisor with them, it's another training that they put us through. All right, so the airport. So there's a lot of different supports for the airport. There's TSA PreCheck, Global Entry, TSA Cares, the Hidden Disability Program. So I'm going to go through each of these separately. So starting with TSA PreCheck. So this is one of the best tools for a smoother like airport experience. It creates shorter lines, less waiting, and there's like fewer sensory stressors. So for children 12 and under, they can go through TSA pre-check with a parent who has it. But if they're 13 to 17, they're going to have to enroll for their own TSA pre-check. And then 18 and above is like, again, like a parent, is their own as well. So there is an expense to apply for TSA pre-check. Um, I know many of us have credit cards. There's certain travel credit cards that will cover the cost of a TSA pre-check application. So that's a nice little feature that you can look out for, like on your credit card, see if you have that. And I've had families where maybe it's only one parent will apply for TSA pre-check. They then take the kids through with them, and the other parent just goes through the regular security. And so then say it's the mom has TSA pre-check her, and the kids can get through quickly, get settled, maybe get some a meal on the other side, and wait for dad to come through. So there are options if you don't want to pay for both. Obviously, that's a family decision if you feel it's okay to kind of split up, and you don't need both parents going through. Another option, if you are going international, is global entry. So this is similar to TSA PreCheck. It's just for international travel. Um, for this, though, it's really important to know that every single traveler has to have their own global entry approval. And it's like even infants, like when I traveled with my 4-month-old, actually, I think younger, out of the country, and we had to get him his own um global entry. He had to go through the interview process. So you have to go, you fill out a form, and then there's an interview at the airport. So that is important to know that everyone has to have that. I unfortunately have seen families with babies go through, and because they had the baby and the baby didn't have it, they weren't able to go through the global entry. And then again, some of the credit cards do cover that fee as well. And that then includes the TSA pre-check. So if you get global entry, you'll also have TSA pre-check. So if you're not wanting to pay for those versions, there is TSA Cares. So this allows you to call ahead. You're going to call 72 hours prior to your travel. And there's the information, the number to call for that, and the time to call. Or you can go to tsa.gov to get like a form to fill out. And this just helps, you'll have someone walking you through security. They'll explain each step and just help make that process smoother. And then they'll walk you to your gate to get on the plane. All right. The next one is the Hidden Disability Program. So this is actually a card. In some of the airports, the information desk do have this. You can go to your local airport if they're part of this program, and they may have the card there for you for free. Otherwise, you can order them on the Hidden Disability website, but there is a fee for that. But this helps, like, this isn't just autism. This is disabilities that maybe are just they're not immediately visible to others. This is something that you can, like, it's a lanyard you would wear, or your child would wear around their neck. And it's just alerting staff within the airport that I'm going to need a little bit more support. Just show some patience, offer help, like reduce like the pressure when I'm going through TSA, like the security, and just like it's kind of alerting them, make it more inclusive experience. I heard a beep. So is there a question? Or
Nope,
no?
you are
Okay.
good.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay. And then the sensory room. So not all airports, unfortunately, have like a sensory room, but there are some of the major airports like New York, LaGuardia, the Atlanta airport. Those, I'm trying to think if there's other ones. Boston airport. So those are some in like this kind of New England, East Coast area. They have sensory rooms. So you can get through security and go hang out in a sensory room. It's just a quiet, calming like space within the airport. The lights are dimmed. There's comfortable seating, sensory tools. So that can help with the transition if it's just so overstimulating getting through security and a busy airport. You can go to this calming room. There's also in airports sometimes for like moms, there's like the like pumping rooms. So that can be something that if you're needing that to while you're traveling, they do have those in place.
One of
Uh,
our participants indicated that Newark Airport in New Jersey has a great sensory room as well. And a question also was, where could we locate the sensory rooms? Are there maps, or do we need to ask a staff member?
Yeah, so if I'm um like I've Googled kind of where they are in each airport. Like I know New York LaGuardia, it's like it says Terminal C on level 3 near the Delta Lounge. So like it's if you're able to Google where are the sensory rooms at this specific airport, I have had pretty good luck with finding them. But you may want to touch base just prior to your trip to see if that's still the case because we always know airports are renovating. Who knows if it got moved. Um, Another nice thing, like if you, with those, I keep referring to like travel cards, but some travel cards allow access into their lounges also, and that's a nice space to go to. So if you have like an American Express business card, you may have access to a decent amount of lounges within airports, and then you can get a meal that's included with that access. And often those are quieter areas as well. All right. So then social stories. So there's some that like Royal Caribbean Cruises has created a social story. It's pretty general, but it can be something that you can edit and fill out. JetBlue has a social story. I have a Disney social story that Travelmation has created. So they're great resources. I'm happy to share with anyone if you just email me. All right. So boarding. Oh, slide is not going. Sorry, something happened. And okay, there we go. Boarding the plane. So there are some like most airlines offer medical pre-boarding, so family can get on the plane early. You can take your time getting settled, kind of set up the area. Um, Many also offer family boarding, so they may do like their elites first and then family boarding. So then when you're traveling with young children, you can get on the plane as well earlier. And then some families prefer to pre-board, so maybe like one family member goes down, kind of sets up the area, and then the rest of the family comes right before the plane is done loading so that they don't have to wait on the plane as long. Um, All right. So then on the airplane. So once on the plane, it's helped to break the flight like into predictable steps. So, I mean, kind of actually before you are even traveling, you're booking your flight. So the first thing is like, what's the best seats for your family? So when I have a family of like four, if there's a kiddo who may be kicking the seats, I recommend you go two and two, and the kid that's going to kick is behind a family member. So then they're next to a family member and behind a family member. So if they're kicking the seat in front of them, it's a family member's, not a stranger's. I feel like that really helps just your anxiety as a parent, but also just then you're not bothering someone else. Preparing for noise and ear pressure is something you want to make sure you're doing proactively. So lollipops, if they're little ones, binkies, bottles, having like water to drink, things like that can help with that ear pressure. Chewing gum if they're old enough. Having reinforcers ready, toys ready, any fidgets, weighted blankets if that's an item that you've used at home. Having lots of snacks. If you need a timer, there's always like if you have a plane that has the screen in front of you, it's a nice little timer that shows the flight, but maybe you have something on your phone if that's not the case. Um, Communicating with the flight attendants before takeoff, like if you're gonna need any support, you can let them know. Managing expectations for takeoff, when you're up in the air and landing, kind of what's that going to look like, coaching and talking with your child prior to the flight. Um, and then I always recommend, so flights that are in the morning are most likely to take off on time. The later in the day, the more likely you're going to have a delay. So I know sometimes it's hard waking up for that 6 a.m. flight, but those are the ones that are typically on time. So there's like a little nice graph there that you can see that those 6 a.m. flights are the ones that are typically arriving and departing on time. But as you get into the later part of the day, it's a domino effect with flights. So definitely the early morning flights are where you're going to have less likely of those delays and cancellations. All right. And then transportation to your hotel. So making sure you have this set up prior to travel. Make sure if it's a private transfer and you need car seats, that they have those car seats or you've brought your own car seats. Make sure, like, if you get in the car and it's hot, like, advocate for your guys. I'll say, like, it's hot in here. Can you turn the air on? Or if they're playing music and it's too loud, just saying, hey, can we have some calming music or just the music off? Um, if you need like a reset before, like you get off the flight and the transportation, like going right to it is just gonna be too much for your family, then plan like a half hour later and you guys can sit and make sure you have a snack break, use the bathroom, kind of have that downtime so you're not rushing. So make sure you're arranging that transportation for that downtime because some transportation, they see your flight gets in at 8 a.m. and they're going to be there at 8:30 and they're only going to wait a certain amount of time. So if you're wanting to take your time out of the airport, they may not be there anymore because it's past the time they're allotted to wait for. Have
Rachel,
reinforced.
there was a question
Oh,
that popped up. I'm sorry to interrupt
okay,
you.
good.
Um, it was participant had indicated that their child had fallen asleep during like the descent of the plane, and that gum was not a successful way to help alleviate that pressure, and that they really had a hard time calming them down. Is there anything additional that you would recommend to help prevent the pressure from affecting their ears?
Yeah, so olive oil, like I sometimes bring drops for my kids with like of olive oil that will kind of help numb the ear. So that has helped before. My daughter really is sensitive to flights, and we've had some challenging times, just because the pressure can be so bad. So the olive oil has been helpful. I hope that answered and helped. All right, so let's look at amusement parks. So there's so many different parks available that have different types of supports. Disney is one that most of us have heard of, and they have something called the DAS Pass. There's Universal, they have the IBCCES accessibility card, which you go to the IBCCES site and you can apply for that accessibility card. Six Flags also is there, and like Sesame Street. Um, there's like other parks that are listed there that have some of these supports. But I'm gonna break Disney down a little bit more since I know this is often the most common trip people are looking for is Disney when looking for amusement parks. So they have the disability access service, the DAS pass is what it's referred as. And it's designed to help with those like long waits in those traditional lines. So some rides at Disney can be pretty quick if it's a ride that's not as popular. Some of those popular rides, I mean, I've seen 2 hour waits for things like Slink Dog Dash, which is like one of the most popular roller coasters for kids. And that's just too long for kiddos to be waiting. So with the DAS pass, what happens is you can apply 60 days prior to your trip, and you end up having to go through like an interview process where they're interviewing you, they'll ask questions about your child, and then your child does have to be there at the end so they can see them, take a picture for the pass. You're having those conversations prior to apply for this card. I recommend families. I mean, you're explaining the most challenging situation you have had with your child because you don't know. That could be the case when you're waiting in line. If you're not able to have this DAS pass, it could be a really challenging time at Disney. So I explain like if you're using TSA cares, TSA PreCheck and flights, you're explaining this. If you don't go grocery shopping with your kiddo because the lines are too long, like let them know that could lead to a tantrum or it could lead to them running out of the line, things like that. We want to make sure they're very clear on kind of those worst case scenarios that can happen so that you can get access to this card because they're not just giving it to everyone. It is really they're trying to weed out the ones that really do need that DAS pass. Um,
Rachel, another question popped in if you don't mind me asking it. One of our participants indicated something that I think we're all can resonate with. But the world's not super understanding of supporting other kiddos who have disabilities. And they were asking, aside from the sunflower symbol, are there any other symbols that could help identify their child as having special needs or maybe needing some extra support, or maybe some more grace or patience from others?
So I haven't, for travel purposes, I haven't heard of anything. I mean, there's, like I said, the accessibility card. I create for families if they want it, kind of just like an about me card. So if there is a time where they're having a challenging moment, the family has like almost like business cards printed out that they can like pass out to those that, people unfortunately are good, like staring, and some want to help, others think they need to call 911 immediately. So passing that out, and then as a parent, you're able to tend to your child and help de-escalate them versus dealing with the crowd around you. So I do send templates to families that are wanting that during travel. All right. So just back to the DAS pass. So what it does is you get into the park and you're able to say, I want to go on this ride. And I'll tell you, okay, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., head over to the ride, and you're going to get to access the lightning lane, which is a different line than the typical line. So the typical line, let's say for one ride is currently 45 minutes, you get to go into the lightning lane. And that, I mean, sometimes I've waited 10 minutes in a lightning lane, but typically not much more than that. So it's a much quicker process getting on the ride, not having to wait long. And then when you're done with that ride, you get to pick your next ride that you want to use the DAS pass for. So it's a really nice resource to limit that time in lines. Universal, so they have that accessibility card. So it just helps before your trip, you're completing an online form, you're uploading documentation. So once you're approved, you'll get that card. And then when you get to the park, you go to guest services to connect your card to your tickets. And then they'll go over like the accommodations for the shows, the attractions, waiting areas, what that all looks like for you. Um, and then depending on like your child's needs, they may provide like return time, so an alternate entrance or just modified waiting areas. Their goal is just to reduce the lines, manage that sensory challenge, and just help your family move through the park in a way that like feels comfortable and predictable for you. Their system is pretty straightforward and smooth. All right. Any questions on amusement parks? I didn't go over all of them just because there is a lot, but if there's like Sesame Place or something you are interested in, please email me, and I can help you like plan and organize that trip.
Rachel, someone had commented, it wasn't necessarily a question, but maybe the question, I could come up with one for you. But somebody had mentioned that they were traveling to India and their flight, um, I guess was, it seemed like they were approaching and going through TSA and they requested for TSA care. They were given a number to call when they arrived to the airport. And when they did call, nobody replied to them. Do you have any suggestions of what families should do in those types of situations?
Yeah, so I have heard of this, unfortunately. I think like the last year I've heard it's gotten a little bit better, but that's why like the TSA Cares, it's a great program, but having that backup of TSA pre-check or global entry, I really think is something that is going to be beneficial, especially if you are a family that travels often or hoping to travel often, or if you're in a busy airport location, like if you're flying out of Dulles or New York airports, like those can be really busy airports, and having just that TSA pre-check can be helpful. All right, cruises. So some of like the top cruise lines that really try to make their cruises accessible are Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Carnival Cruise Line, and Disney Cruise Line. So I'm gonna go over them like a couple here, but if you have questions on others, please feel free to email me. So Royal Caribbean, so this they offer several autism-friendly programs to help families feel like supported on board. They provide like sensory friendly films with low lighting and volume, autism-friendly like toy lending programs they have through their kids clubs. You can borrow crayons, blocks, picture books, things like that. Their Adventure Oceans, which is their kids club, also offers activities for children of like all abilities, and families can speak with staff about any needed modifications. They typically have like an open house at the beginning of a cruise. They also have a cruising social story to help just understand and know what to expect for the trip. For teens and adults with autism, they offer expedited like check-in and boarding, special like well for everyone, special dietary accommodations, sensory those films, um, and then like access to like the ship-wide activities. Um, they have so within their child, their like kids club, the staff have been trained and have some background knowledge of autism, so they get some autism awareness training. So that's nice. That's been developed by Autism on the Seas. So I'll go a little bit more into what Autism on the Seas is. So they are like they've been around for 20 years and they're like the leading support for families with autism with travel. So they really focus on cruise lines right now, but I'll get a little bit into their land stuff after. But for the cruising specific, what they provide is like respite support on the cruise ship. So you're checking in, going through like the boarding process, they're there to help with that. They rent out for most of their cruise ships the conference area on the cruise ships, and they set up a respite care area. So it could be a 2-to-1 ratio, so two kids to one staff, or you can pay an additional fee for a one-on-one if you want your child to have one staff with them the whole trip. Um, and they'll have specific times for that respite care while you are on your cruise. And it's really nice so families can take all, like if you have a kid, one of your children has autism, but another one of your other kids doesn't, they can both go to the respite. They don't have to be split up and one go to the kids club and one go to respite. So that's really nice. They can stay together. But then you can send the kids there and you can go hang out by the pool or you can go do whatever you want on the ship. So it's a nice break for you. They also have like private activities, so they'll have time for the pool or rock climbing, things like that. They have during mealtime, they'll get a group area together so everyone's kind of sitting together and say your child wants to is having a hard time during dinner and needs to go for a walk. One of those staff will take them for a walk and you can stay and enjoy your meal. So you're not having to get up and take them and leave your meal, which is a nice as well. And then for an excursion, they typically do a beach excursion on one of the port days. So they will go as a group to a beach and have like a group of the staff and families there, and you guys have a great time kind of bonding and getting to spend time at the beach. And they're able to help. So these staff are typically BCBAs, OT, PT, speech providers, RBTs, special ed teachers. So they have worked with individuals with autism or other disabilities. So they have the background. And so they're able to help with behaviors, feeding, transitions, any sensory needs. Um, and then it's just giving you like that comfort of you feel comfortable leaving your child with someone that does have that experience. Um, and then so they've mainly done cruises the last 20 years. We did just launch last week. Me and one of my other Travelmation travel advisors are launching with Autism on the Seas land. So we will be doing 4 Disney World trips next year. And I mean, we we launched last Wednesday and we have had 500 families reach out with requests for Disney respite. So it is a one-on-one support. You are getting a one-on-one staff member in the parks with you. You get 2 hours of respite care at night. It's an amazing addition to a Disney World trip. So there are those types of resources available. And like I said, it's a very popular. I'm very excited that we were able to release those dates and share that opportunity with families.
Rachel, there were two questions that came in. Do you want me to ask them now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. One of our participants asked, are there any travel nanny services that specialize in helping care for children with autism?
Yeah, so I know there's nanny services like Disney does have nanny, but special like specific to families with autism, I'm not aware of. So that's kind of where that respite piece that Autism on the Seas provides is available. And then in a minute, I'll get into beaches and what they kind of provide. They kind of have some nannies there as well. But was there one other question?
Yes, this one was a general question of, are there any recommendations for seasickness and do C bands still exist?
Yeah, I mean there's like basic C bands. I have a watch that like vibrates and sends like little, I don't know, shock waves. That is what I found has worked best. I was on a pretty rocky ship in February and I was okay with my little watch. So I can always recommend and send the links for those as well. All right. So I went over. So also on top of Disney World, Autism on the Sea is part of our land. We haven't released them yet, but we are, and probably the next week or so, releasing beaches resorts as well. So I'll get a little bit into what beaches is, but there will be respite on top of what beaches already provides with Autism on the Seas service. So, if you wanted to just do a resort stay without Autism on the Sea, some of the great resorts that do provide their autism certified are the Nickelodeon and Margaritaville resorts. Margaritaville is nice because those are within the U.S. or some of them are within the U.S. Nickelodeon is Punta Cana and uh, Cancun area. And then beaches, there is Turks and Caicos and Jamaica, Negril, Jamaica right now, but they'll be expanding over the next few years, a couple more beaches. But what beaches provides, so they have their kids club is, I mean, you can be an infant and go to their kids club and they're all certified to work with families with autism. If you have dining challenges, they're equipped to support you with that. So they also have their Sesame Street characters are there, and so I can't remember if I think is it Elmo maybe one of the Sesame Street characters like you can have it's like an additional fee, but you can have them come tuck your kid in like to bed one night. Like that's something that really can make a trip for a kid. So it's really cute. And then they have like parades and stuff. So that's nice for younger kids. But I have families that have done beaches resorts and the support they have received on those trips, they come back saying like that's the best vacation I've ever had. So it's a really nice service they have to give family comfort of they can your kids can go to the kids club and you can go snorkeling if you wanted to, or maybe they're in the kids club when you're having like a nice dinner with your significant other or friends that join you for the trip, things like that. All right. So then returning home, obviously the trip is like so built up and stuff that you come home, maybe you come home on Sunday, they go back to school on Monday. That may be too overwhelming for you and your kid. That's a lot. So just planning time to like decompress. So I typically say like give yourselves a couple days, like if you're traveling, come home on a Friday and then you have the weekend to kind of get back into those routines. And that's like a buffer between your vacation and going back to your school or work schedules. So that's really important to consider as well. And then just also like don't stress over unpacking. Like I got back from Disney a week ago and there's still things I need to unpack. Like I feel like sometimes you just gotta let it go and like you'll get back into your routines. Don't stress yourself out. Um, Look at the pictures, celebrate the wins, like even the small ones. Just make sure you were really recognizing that and like you guys are talking about a family, like your favorite part of the trip, and just having those conversations and making sure that like you're just ending on like almost like a good note. This was a good family vacation. We had hard times, but these were the great times we had. And then like every trip, like you're gonna learn from each trip. I've traveled with my kids quite a bit, and each time I'm still learning what we can change for the next time. So it's not going to be perfect, your trip, and that's okay. Some upcoming accessible travel opportunities. So, if you have never flown before, and you are nervous about getting on an airplane with your child, there are some practice runs. So, Wings for Autism and Autism Flies are great organizations that will do, Autism Flies typically does spring and fall, and Wings for Autism, I find about kind of the same. Like, I think they'll have events. I started to see like April is when they'll have their next events. Um, so these are great practice runs. You get to get your boarding pass, you go through TSA, you board the airplane, you go through the announcements, maybe have a snack. It's a trial run, and it's a really great practice for the family to see, okay, are we going to be able to get on the airplane? I had one family, we did last spring a practice run at our local airport through the Autism Flies, and the kiddo wasn't able to get on the airplane, but the parents didn't let that. They were like, you know what? It's okay. The cruise ports are a few hours away. We're gonna still make this possible. We're gonna drive to a cruise port. We're gonna get on a cruise in New Jersey, and we're just going to avoid the plane ride for now. We'll keep practicing. We'll come to another event, and hopefully we'll get there one day. But they were able to say, the plane isn't going to completely put a pause on us traveling. We're going to make this work. But it was good to kind of practice that, to know that, okay, that's our first step, is just not the plane piece. Um, and then there's always Autism on the Sea sailings. They do about 100 a year, so I can help you with that piece, booking and planning that. And then the stays too. We'll have four beaches, and then there's the four Disney ones that have been released. All right, I know questions have been coming in, but I'm going to throw my contact information up there. So that's my email. Just make sure Travelmation, that's with an M. Um, and then my website, there's a form there. If you're looking to travel, you can go to my website, fill out a form. And then my LinkedIn, I share like a lot of resources and stuff for travel. So you can always follow me on LinkedIn. So that's there. But in the meantime, is there any additional questions?
I don't see any coming through just yet. Maybe we'll give a couple minutes here. But while we wait for some questions, I just want to thank you so much, Rachel. I mean, I learned a ton just sitting here, just thinking about all the amazing resources that all of our families could really benefit from and just probably aren't aware of. So I really appreciate your time, and um, just being able to understand all of the resources that are available to us is a real nice tool to have in our toolkit. So thank you. And
Yeah.
I've gotten a couple thank you very much is coming through to you as well. So I can probably speak for a lot of us here that we're very grateful for your time and all of the resources you shared today. And hopefully everybody that attended today was able to take something away with them. I have a
Yeah.
couple of questions. I think I have a couple, maybe one or two questions that popped through. Um, are these resources just for families, for those that are on the spectrum? I know you've talked about a couple different things.
Yeah, I mean, if your family has other disabilities, typically most of these resources apply. Like Autism on the Seas is called Autism on the Seas, but they service any disability. You don't just have to have autism. The beaches resorts is they have that autism certification, but if your child has other disabilities and they have maybe behaviors or things that are similar to autism, they should be able to accommodate that as well. Typically, most of these places are able to accommodate different ones.
Awesome. It looks like one family asked, does Verbal Beginnings provide any tags or badges that could help parents at the airport for a smooth transition? I can speak to that one. Everything that we do for our families is going to obviously be client specific. So it's a really great question to ask your clinical team. That is a good question to bring right to your BCBA. They'll be able to provide you with any guidance there. And then Rachel, if there's anything additional that you would like to add that you're able to support, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy, like I said, if you're planning and booking trips with me, I typically send the families the sunflower card if they're not able to get them at their local airports. And then, like I said, I can send like that about me card. So like if we book a trip somewhere and you want those about me cards, I send those as well. I have like a list of when you book a trip, I start sending you a lot of these things.
Amazing. Thank you, Rachel. I haven't seen another one come through.
And I know I went through everything very quick. There's so much available that if you have questions, like you're like, I'm looking for a beach resort, can you help me? Just like I said, email me or fill out my form. on my website and we can chat. I typically what I do is if you contact me, I set up a phone call and we'll chat first just so I can get more information about your family's needs, what you're looking for, and then from there I will say, okay, I'm going to start looking at this type of vacation and I'll pull different options for you, send you some quotes, and then once you see one you like, then we book and then I start sending the different resources for that trip. So it's kind of that process.
Awesome. Well, Rachel, again, thank you so, so much, especially on behalf of Rural Beginnings. We really appreciate you taking the time to meet with our families. And if you're new to Rural Beginnings and you need our contact information, please go to our website, ruralbeginnings.com. Like I said, a little bit earlier, this presentation will be linked to our family corner. So if you're trying to access it for yourself again at a later time, or if there's other families that you think would be in need of this information, please look at our family corner. With the next couple of days, we'll have this posted. But I think that takes us to the end here. And thank you everybody for joining us, for taking your evening as we're leading up to all the holiday chaos that's happened around us. We appreciate you taking the time to join us and I hope you have a great rest of your evening and a great holiday season.